What is up, YouTube? It's your boy, The Walk 71, PlayStation with a 4, and I'm here with another wrestling review. Now, I know I missed the Survivor Series 2020 review. I didn't have none of my recording equipment. That was the reason why. Where I was at like a whole different spot at the time, and I didn't have none of my recording equipment, so I really wasn't even able to get the review out, and by the time I thought I was going to be able to, I just said screw it, it's whatever. The Survivor Series pay-per-view overall, that was cool. I love the Street Profits and New Day match. That was pretty much my favorite match of the night, and the Roman Drew match was fire too. That was cool. But not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about NXT TakeOver WarGames. Was it 4? Yeah, TakeOver WarGames 4 2020, whatever they call it this time. Overall, it was a good pay-per-view. Every match from top to bottom hit. There wasn't a dull match on this card, which is crazy, because usually with these shows, the first match would be fire, the last match would be fire, but it's like a match in between the first and last match that's like, it was good, but it's not NXT level. All of these matches hit on different, in different ways and circumstances, essentially. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. We open up the show with the first of the 2 War Games matches scheduled for the show. The first being the women's War Games match, Team Shotzi versus Team Candice. Team Shotzi consisting of Ember Moon, Shotzi Blackheart herself, Rhea Ripley, and the NXT Women's Champion Io Shirai. Team Candice, of course, was Candice LeRae herself. Toni Storm, who actually turned heel recently, so now she's a part of Team Candice. Raquel Gonzalez, and of course Dakota Kai. Then the match started out with Ember Moon and Dakota Kai going at it for the first 5 minutes. All types of crazy stuff in the match. Dakota Kai hitting a chiropractor for a near fall. Not even a near fall, but just hitting it because the War Games match doesn't start till everybody's in the match. So that was pretty cool. Ember Moon did some crazy move, which I'm trying to figure out the name of, but it was something like it was crazy. I liked it though. It was pretty cool of a move. And then once that happened, Shotzi Blackheart actually won the ladder match to get the War Games advantage. So the faces actually got the War Games advantage in this match. So Shotzi Blackheart was next to come out into the match. She came in, brought in a toolbox, and I had like a wrench in it and all types of stuff, and that was really interesting to see. Shotzi immediately teamed up with Ember Moon and basically just team up and take out Dakota Kai, and then Raquel Gonzalez pulled up. She was next for the next team. Once Raquel Gonzalez came out, she did Raquel Gonzalez shit, just dominating, throwing people around. It once again became an even fight. So her and Dakota Kai started doing stuff together. That was great. Then once that happened, the countdown goes down again, and Rhea Ripley comes out. And once Rhea Ripley comes out, they do a shot where Raquel Gonzalez, they zoom in on her face. It was perfectly timed too. She was like, I've been waiting for this, because they had a match at Halloween Havoc where Rhea Ripley won. So now they get to tussle again inside the cage. So that was pretty cool. They're fighting. Rhea Ripley does something crazy with Dakota Kai where she beats her with her belt, and then she wraps the belt around Dakota Kai and just swings her into the cage, killing her. It was crazy. It was crazy. We got little back and forth between Raquel Gonzalez and Rhea Ripley. That was pretty cool. And then once after that, Toni Storm arrived into the match. She came in, brought in a bunch of kendo sticks, and just went bananas. With the kendo sticks. Toni Storm did her thing out there. Then the next was Io Shirai, but they actually built up something where they would not let Io Shirai into the cage at all. Every time she got into the door, Raquel Gonzalez kicked the door, which sent Io Shirai on the ground. They had Toni Storm use her belt to lock the door, or whoever's belt it was, and probably it was either hers or Rhea Ripley's belt. Locked the door. There was one part where even Io Shirai tried to climb the cage and she got knocked off. So they were trying to, do something with that. And then once during all that, Indy Hartwell shows up because Candice LeRae is the last member to come out of her cage. She gets in there. Weapons are brought in. Indy Hartwell gets involved. She takes the key and actually locks the cage so that Io Shirai doesn't get in at all. And then we get to a point where all the women are just fighting it out, duking it out. There was actually one cool like double move spot I liked in the match where Shotzi Blackheart did like a double sliced bread off the top rope, and then Ember Moon and Rhea did like a electric chair bulldog move. It was great. I like that. It was a great visual. But we get to the big spot in the match. They all the spots where all the women are just fighting each other, and here comes Io Shirai with a trash can, climbs the top of the cage, puts the trash can over herself, and does a crossbody and takes everybody out. It was as equally stupid as it was entertaining. I don't know why. It was funny just seeing somebody do a crossbody with a trash can attached to them, like them being inside of the trash can. That was very entertaining to see. It was actually cool just to see somebody do that, but it was pretty stupid at the same time. But I enjoyed it nonetheless. So I guess it did its purpose in the match. So the girls are still fighting, doing their thing, killing each other. We get towards the last few moments of the match. Ember Moon hit this mean eclipse on Dakota Kai with 2 chairs, and I was like, oh, they was going nuts in this match. I ain't even gonna lie, they was trying to kill each other. They had beef out there in that match. Shotzi Blackheart did a senton off of a ladder onto chairs with Candice LeRae. I thought that was cool for a near fall, but he was kicked out. But we get to the end of the match. There's a ladder set in the middle in between the 2 rings, and there's a ladder bridge made. It looks like Io Shirai is about to go for a Hurricanrana on Raquel Gonzalez through the ladder, but instead Raquel says, nah, F all that. Picks Io Shirai up and power slams her ass through the ladder and actually wins the match. I was shocked, but also understood why. So Raquel Gonzalez actually pinned the women's champion, so that tells you that WWE NXT has big things planned for Raquel Gonzalez. And it also helps with the later match, the triple threat North American title match, because it seems as though NXT is trying to really, I won't say really push, but they're trying to establish this new Gargano, I guess, stable team, whatever. And you can't really do that unless Candice LeRae, gets the win in the WarGames match. So that was pretty cool that she got that. And it was a good match though. It was a lot of brutal spots. Lots of good stuff. The women have delivered 2 years in a row with the WarGames match, because I was actually at TakeOver last year for the WarGames in November in Chicago, and they did their thing in that match. Io Shirai did that moonsault off the top. Shayna Baszler got slammed into a bunch of chairs. Bianca Belair did a 450. Like, it was great. This match was good nonetheless. It was an amazing women's WarGames match. So after that, let's see, where did we end up? After that, we got another match, a one-on-one brutal match, actually. Timothy Thatcher versus Tommaso Ciampa. Tommaso Ciampa came out with this Yukio Egypt-ass robe with the mask on. He came out, and I guess he's wearing pants again, so that must mean he's a face. Timothy Thatcher comes out wearing Timothy Thatcher garments, and they have a very New Japan, UK, just a brawl of a match. Like, I can't go over every single thing in this match because I'm not going to remember everything, but just know these two went hard. There was one point in the match where they were, Tommaso Ciampa had Thatcher's leg, and he was just stomping on his leg in a submission. Thatcher did his thing, but there was one brutal spot where Tommaso Ciampa hit Thatcher with a running knee to the face, but he hit that man in the ear, and his ear just started bleeding, which added to the match. Like, I really felt like him bleeding, even though it was a complete accident. It added to the brutality of the match. They're slapping each other, all types of wild stuff in this match between these two, and this was just a regular match. We get towards the end of the match. We saw Tommaso Ciampa use the bulldog choke that Jon Moxley has been using a lot in AEW, and Neville or Pac used it when he was on 205 Live. So it's a really good submission move. He was using the bulldog choke, and Thatcher was able to get out of it, and he was able to kind of reverse it, hit a German suplex, and it later leads into Ciampa getting a guillotine in before dropping Thatcher with the Willow's Bell, the little DDT off the rope. Did that, won the match. Match was great. My only critique about it was that Timothy Thatcher should have won, because I don't know what it is, but it's like you can't build him on TV just to have him lose. It's kind of like it's an uphill battle almost. You're building him up just to go down. Like when he had that match with Matt Riddle, the cage match, that was supposed to be, his, I guess you could say introduction, but more like, okay, this is somebody we need to pay attention to. Then he had the feud with Balor, which I feel like he should have won against Balor, but from seeing what they did after that, even though all of that was a total accident, what happened with Finn Balor being NXT champion, because Keith Lee got called up, Karrion Kross got hurt, so Finn Balor was the next man up, so I guess it kind of worked. But they were still building him up with his little segments on TV, the Thatch Cam, where he's just wrestling a bunch of wrestlers and torturing them, just to show dominance. And that's really how this feud started, was that Tommaso Ciampa was like, oh, try that on me. But after the match, there was a moment where they both looked at each other with a sign of respect, so it looks as though they might be turning Thatcher face, or they might not be making him a heel anymore. I don't know. Hopefully not. I need them to, give wins. If you're going to build somebody, you need to make sure that they can, win, like, big matches, because then it makes everything else they're doing not relevant if they can't even win a big match. You feel me? But overall, it was a good, aggressive match. I liked it. It was cool. After that, what did we get? Strap match. Dexter Lumis versus Cameron Grimes. To the moon. This match was cool. I digged it. This is a feud that's been going on for like ever. They even had a cinematic / real match with their I think it was called the House of Horrors, or the Haunted House of Horrors or something, on NXT. And that was pretty entertaining, just watching Dexter Lumis just run every time he saw a zombie or something. This match nonetheless was great. It started, Cameron Grimes said he wanted this specific strap to use. And as soon as the ref was going to put it on, he immediately started attacking Dexter Lumis, and he's beating him up. But eventually Dexter Lumis gets some offense in, and then he officially straps up, so the match officially starts. And then Dexter Lumis is just throwing Cameron Grimes into the barricade, into the cage barricade plexiglass gimmick that they made up. Eventually Dexter Lumis gets hit, and then Cameron Grimes is on the offense. Chairs being involved. We get later into the match. They use these steel beams that they use to hold the WarGame structure, because, they're not in a traditional arena where they could just drop it to the ground. They're in the performance center, so they kind of got to have something, kind of bring it down, which I'll talk about later, because the presentation, and I'm pretty sure they did on the pre-show, but if you didn't watch the pre-show, you won't know. So I'll talk about it in the next WarGames match, the presentation of the actual cage and stuff. They fight it off. Lumis gets pulled into one of the steel infrastructures. That was cool. A chair gets involved. Cameron Grimes tries to go for a cave-in on a chair, but he gets tripped by the rope and by the strap, and ends up going face first into the chair. And then Dexter Lumis puts him in the triangle choke and chokes him out. Wow. Kind of putting the strap around him, and then eventually he wins. And after that, he actually ties Cameron Grimes up with the strap, and he celebrates as he looks menacingly into the camera. The match was great. It was a good payoff to this feud. Like, hopefully this is the end. Like, they don't continue this feud. Dexter Lumis, which is crazy, because I remember when he showed up in TNA, when he was Sam Shaw, and I'm talking about before he started doing this gimmick in TNA, when he was just Sam Shaw, just the generic wrestler, and then he got to this point, and now he done got further in his career. It's crazy to see how far he got with this gimmick. It's insane, with little tweaks and stuff, but it is crazy to see that. And Cameron Grimes, he's good. He can go in the ring. He's very entertaining. He's a lot more entertaining than a lot of these wrestlers today. But I don't know what his position is in NXT, because it seems like he hasn't got that many significant wins in order to fight for a championship or even, go after one. So it's like, he's kind of in that spot where it's like, you need a good heel to, for a babyface. There you go, Cameron Grimes. But hopefully one day they, start to do something with him. Then after that, we got a Karrion Kross. I just want to throw that in there. Karrion Kross vignette, kind of. It was only like a few seconds, and he was just saying TikTok, so that was cool. He has a TikTok account now. Anyways, we get to the only championship match of the night, the triple threat match for the NXT North American Championship. Damian Priest versus Johnny Gargano versus the NXT North American Champion, Leon Ruff. The story of this match pretty much was that Johnny Gargano, he beat Damian Priest with the Ghostface Killer at the Halloween Havoc. So then he decided to have his first title match, and it was against Leon Ruff, and Leon Ruff actually beat him. So it was like a curse with Johnny Gargano where, every time he wins a championship, his first title defense, he loses it. When he won the NXT title, his first title defense, he lost it. The first time he won the North American title, he lost it to Velveteen Dream. Then he lost it to Leon Ruff. And then Damian Priest involved because he was the previous champion before all of this. Match was great, though. I enjoyed this triple threat match. I enjoyed it because Damian Priest the whole time was just trying to tell Leon Ruff to get out of his way. And Johnny Gargano was just trying to kill Leon Ruff before Damian Priest ultimately hits him with a Razor's Edge through a barricade. But I like how they kind of booked Leon Ruff, where it's like, all right, bro, this is where the adults, all the other shit we was doing on TV, that was funny, that was cool, that was entertaining. This is the real stuff. And Leon Ruff is like, acting like he ain't no punk. Like, he punched Damian Priest before Damian Priest threw him through a barricade. There's a lot going on in this match, though. Like I said, Leon Ruff got thrown through the barricade after they were all, going after it. Going at it. Leon Ruff actually tried to go for like a double drop kick at one point, and that's kind of what pissed Damian Priest off, and he tried to go for a dive before he got caught. But after that, it was Johnny Gargano and Damian Priest just going at it in the ring for a good minute before Leon Ruff came back. He jumped off of Damian Priest's back and went for a crossbody on Johnny Gargano. I thought that was really cool. And like I said, Damian Priest would get involved. And I like how they booked Leon Ruff because it seemed like he was very limited when he was on TV, but then they just start kind of letting him do stuff. Like he did like a corkscrew cutter on Johnny Gargano. That was dope. That should be his finisher. It's like he gets on the rope and he like twists and it hits you with a cutter. That should be a finish. Like, screw that being a regular move. That should be a finish of a match. That was too clean of a move. Damian Priest comes back in. He hits a double flatliner with Gargano and Ruff. I thought that was cool. Gargano's Druids, I guess you could say, or he has people dressed up as the Ghostface Killer from Scream show up. They get involved in the match. There was another part before that. My bad. Johnny Gargano does the running thing into the turnbuckle where he takes his opponent and just drives him face first. Does that for Leon Ruff into the turnbuckle and hits Damian Priest too, who was on the outside. Gargano actually puts Damian Priest into the ropes, like ties him up, and it looks like he was about to go for something. Well, first he goes for the Gargano escape, and he's playing for Leon Ruff not to tap before he ends up coming in and grabbing Leon Ruff and getting him out of it so that he doesn't lose the match. Then we get to a point where we actually do a repeat of how Leon Ruff won the championship, where Johnny Gargano goes for that super kick and he reverses it into a crucifix bomb, and he goes for that, and Johnny Gargano kicks out at 2. And, they were trying to do that, showing that he can kick out of it, because that was kind of the story of this whole thing, was that he can kick out of the crucifix bomb and he lost the championship. So once again, the Druids get involved, and they only attack Damian Priest. Funny enough, it was like 9 of them. They all pulled up. They all got beat up. Like, Damian Priest was just going crazy, doing planches and dives on the outside to take them all out. Then it's them two again. It looks like Damian Priest is about to get into the ring with one more Druid person, one more Ghostface person, hits him in the back with a pipe. Hits him in the back with a pipe, and then Leon Ruff gets hit with the final beat DDT, and Johnny Gargano wins the North American title and is now a 3-time NXT North American champion. I thought the triple threat match was very entertaining, and especially after he won the championship, he's celebrating at the stage, and then the person takes off the ghost face mask, and it's Austin Theory. So now he's a part of the Johnny Gargano family, or whatever this is. And it was funny. He actually did the Vince McMahon line from, when he revealed that he was the higher power. He was like, it was me all along, Austin. And, you know, his name is Austin, so that was actually kind of funny. So yeah, that was interesting. Leon Ruff. Hopefully, they got a star in Leon Ruff. Like, they have a star made with him. Like, he has instant credibility to his name because he's a former NXT North American champion, and that title means something. But it was a great story. It was probably the most interesting and unexpected thing that happened in NXT in a good minute because, like, you would expect for a title change to happen at TakeOver, not just on a random episode of NXT and whatnot. But it was a good match. Hopefully, they continue to do stuff with Leon Ruff passes. This wasn't just an experiment. Like, hopefully, he's on TV every week doing something. You can even put him in the Cruiserweight division and go after Santos Escobar because he was already fighting him in a tag team match with Damian Priest on the Go On show. So you have something there if you want to have him go after the Cruiserweight division. Or you could just have him at NXT in the mid-card division and he could just be NXT's Spike Dudley or NXT's 1-2-3 Kid where he just gets those wins and he's just known as the little guy that's, scrappy. That he can go in the ring because he definitely proved it in the ring. He can go. So that was great. That was a good little triple threat match. After that, we get to the main event. The male WarGames match. And before the match started, there was the presentation where they have the sirens go off and the cage comes down. But this time it's different. And I actually like this. And I wish WWE could do this more often, but I know they can't. With the cage, they had the cage form itself. Instead of coming down, like how they do with all the other WarGames matches, they have the cage like comes down. No, it was different this time. The cages were like, let's say the cages were on these 4 metal beams around the ring post and whatnot, and they were all flat, and then they just came down and formed into the cage, and I was like, wow, that looked amazing. So that's what I was talking about. That was a great presentation, just showing it put together instead of having it come down. That was great. So we get the male WarGames match, Undisputed Era versus the Kings of NXT, which consists of Pat McAfee, Pete Dunne, the NXT Tag Team Champions, Oney Lorcan, and Danny Burch. Now, in this match, I enjoyed this WarGames match more than I probably would have. I don't know. I enjoyed this match, and the reason I enjoyed this match was it was more aggressive. I think that's what it was for me. It was much more aggressive than before. Like the other WarGames matches, they kind of turned into what's the best way to describe it? I wouldn't say spot fest, but it turns into spot fest at times. It can turn into a spot fest at any moment. Hold on, give me 1 second. Okay. It can turn into a spot fest, i.e. the match with Ricochet, where he was doing a double moonsault off the cage, which was great. It was a great visual. Or you had the Viking Raiders doing a powerbomb superplex off of the cage, Tower of Doom spot. It was whatever. And like I said before, you're gonna get at least one spot where somebody jumps off the cage, and we got that with Pat McAfee. But it was more aggressive. It was more like these guys were trying to like legit beat the living hell out of each other, and I loved it. So the match started with Kyle O'Reilly and Pete Dunne, and it's just a chain wrestling fest with them two. And Team NXT actually has the WarGame advantage, so the heels are coming out first, which is great. Team NXT, the Kings of NXT or whatever, Team McAfee, whatever you want to call it. Pete Dunne and like I said, Pete Dunne and Kyle O'Reilly chain wrestled for like the first 5 minutes, and then Oney Lorcan came in. Once they came in, they had the advantage. They started working on Kyle O'Reilly, double teaming him, hitting all types of moves and whatnot. There was one move where Pete Dunne had him in a position, and then Oney Lorcan came in with the running uppercut. I thought, ooh, that was aggressive. So the next man to come out was Bobby Fish, Red Dragon, Gang. They both came in there, started doing their tag team maneuvers on people. Hit the little double kick on what's his face? What's that man's name? Oney Lorcan. They started doing the double kicks. Did all types of stuff. They didn't do the chasing the dragon though. That was the only thing they didn't do. But they did everything else. And eventually, everything looks good, and then Danny Burch comes out, and then he comes in with wiffle bats, and he just starts wailing on people with the wiffle bats. And they even used it. Oney Lorcan gave Pete Dunne a wiffle bat, and Pete Dunne used it to work a hold because that's his gimmick. So I thought that was really cool that they did that. And they was just beating on Kyle O'Reilly. Bobby Fish was getting beaten on too. You know, they had the advantage. And then Roderick Strong came out. It was his turn to come out. As soon as he got in the cage, he got hit with a running uppercut. But eventually, he started to get some offense in. He hit his little running elbow move, but he did it on Pete Dunne. Like, the way it was positioned, it was in between the two rings. So Pete Dunne was, like, back to the cage. And Oni and Danny were on the ropes, and he was just doing the running elbow on both of the tag champs, and then hit like a running knee on Pete Dunne. I thought, oh, that was pretty cool actually. And then once that happened, it was time for Pat McAfee to get in the match. He came into the match, he brought out 4 tables, each with the Undisputed Era's name on each table with the logo and whatnot, branding. Brought all the tables in there, brought weapons in, and then they just start going crazy. Pat McAfee always kept himself away from the action for the most part until, Adam Cole came in, and then they were just beating up on the Undisputed Era basically, and they were just wailing on them, beating them up. And then once that happened, Adam Cole got into the mix. But first, before he even got in the cage, he took a fire extinguisher because they were standing at the door of the cage. So it was basically like, you get in, we're going to beat you up. So he took a fire extinguisher and just sprayed all of them before he came in with a chair and just started hitting all of his moves, neck breaker, kick to the face, all types of stuff. And that was pretty cool. And then once that happened, the match has officially begun. It's time for War Games. So once that happens, he turns around, he looks at Pat McAfee, he points at him, and he tells him, it's time, come on. Oh, I've been waiting for this, all this. And as soon as he gets in the ring, Adam Cole gets taken out before Kyle O'Reilly takes out somebody with a chair. He takes out Pete Dunne with the chair, like in the back, because Pete Dunne was actually about to do one of those finger breaks on Adam Cole. So he gets in. Kyle O'Reilly's talking all the trash. He said, "Come in. I can't effing wait. You could come in, you piece of crap." He said, "Stop acting like a little bitch." He actually said that, and he got in the ring. He said, "Drop the chair." He dropped the chair. So as soon as he got into the ring, Kyle O'Reilly's ready to go, and he gets taken out. So then, Pat McAfee's basically just, acting like a manager in this match, but he's a competitor, and I kind of like that in this match. Even though he was a competitor, and mainly his role has been that he's a manager, but I guess, since he had a match at TakeOver 30, he's a wrestler now. But he didn't do all the wrestling stuff. Like, he did stuff, but he wasn't, what's the best way to describe it? He was like a manager and a wrestler at the same time. Because you know how sometimes managers get involved in matches and they take a lot of big spots, so they can still be a part of the match. He did that, but he was also a competitor. So that was cool. They basically get the advantage on Undisputed Era, beating them up. At one point, Pat McAfee hits a moonsault through a table on Roderick Strong on the table that had his name on it, so that was cool to see. Another part of them just killing each other was... Who else went through a table? There was a spot where they were supposed to powerbomb Pete Dunne into Oni Lorcan, or was it Danny Burch? It was one of them. Through the table, and it didn't work, so Roderick Strong just jumped off the top rope and just said, "No, y'all going through this table." Another spot, Pat McAfee gets put through a table by Adam Cole. Like, he pushes him off the top rope, and he adds to it by taking a straight up flat back bump through the table, and he just pushed himself further so that he could go through the table, I guess. So that was interesting, to say the very least. Was that all the tables? No, there was one more table spot. Definitely. It's a table spot we get every year, but somebody gets speared through it, and this time it was Bobby Fish spearing Danny Burch through the table. So that was cool. We get the spot where they all just fight each other in the ring. Pat McAfee, like I said, is away the whole time. There's a point where all men are taken out because they all get put, are pushed to the cage, and then they all just hit their moves on it. I believe Kyle O'Reilly, they would individually hit all their moves on everybody. So it'd be Kyle O'Reilly going for a running knee to the face, and then Bobby Fish throwing his body at the person, and then Roderick Strong going for a running knee, and then Adam Cole hitting a super kick. And they do that to Danny Burch, Oni Lorcan, and Pete Dunne. Once they do that, Pat McAfee's SOL, out of luck, basically, right? Once that happens, it looks like they're about to kill him. They just jump him. They jump my man's Pat McAfee. They beat him up. It looks like they was about to go for the punt kick. That's Pat McAfee's move, because he's a punter in the NFL. So that happened. And then the men came back in and started fighting again. They do the spot. You know they got to do the spot where everybody's fighting and somebody falls on top of each other. And it was Pat McAfee this time. He somehow, out of the camera frame, which was great, got on top of the cage and did a swanton bomb on everybody. And that was amazing. So after that, everybody's dead, basically. And then in the second ring, eventually Pat McAfee and Adam Cole get their one-on-one spot. There was a point where Adam Cole was about to hit him with a chair before Pat McAfee hit him in the nuts. And once he did that, it looked like he was about to go for the punt kick, but Adam Cole just no-sell getting hit in the nuts. He must have had a cup on or something. And it looks like he's about to set up for the Panama Sunrise before Pat McAfee moves out the way. And it looks like Pat McAfee is about to go for the Panama Sunrise, but it doesn't work. And Adam Cole ends up hitting the Panama Sunrise on Pat McAfee, but this time Pat McAfee kicks out at 2. So in the second ring, basically all men just start taking all their moves. Like I said, Danny Burch gets put through the table. Pete Dunne and Oney Lorcan are still in the ring. Pat McAfee's dead because he just took that the whatchamacallit, the Panama Sunrise. So it's basically down to Pete Dunne and Danny Burch versus the Undisputed Era, and then you do what they are here to do, kick ass. So what happened was they actually recreated the spot from when Roderick Strong joined Undisputed Era, which was kind of Pete's motivation for attacking Undisputed Era in the first place. Where what was it? Basically, Pete Dunne hit the bitter end on a chair on Adam Cole, and Roderick Strong comes in and does the little stomps him on the face, hits the end of Heartache for a near fall before Oney Lorcan gets involved. And then after that, Strong and Bobby Fish hit their finisher, the Eliminator, their version of the Eliminator, and then they put a chair on top of Oney Lorcan's face, and Kyle O'Reilly goes for a jumping knee to the face, and they win the match with the 1-2-3. And actually, from that, Oney Lorcan actually had a laceration on his face from that match, so he was kind of like, he was really messed up, but he's good now. But man, that was a good War Games match. It was much more aggressive than the last few. Like, it was more about them trying to kill each other. Another thing I liked about this pay-per-view with the War Games matches was the lighting. It wasn't that WWE lighting where everything has to be bright. It was that dark white light that kind of makes it look much more grittier and old school, you can say. I enjoyed that. But overall, like I said, I enjoyed it. Undisputed Era stands tall as the show goes off. And that was NXT TakeOver WarGames 2020, WarGames 4, whatever you want to call it. Great show, though, overall. There wasn't a match I hated, so that's a good thing. Can't say the same about WWE. But, hey, it was a good show overall. Let me know what y'all thought about it if you watched NXT TakeOver WarGames 2020, if you did. Anyway, guys, like, comment, favorite, subscribe. Just do to support me at all times. Anyway, guys, I'm out. Social media links down in the description below. Peace.